Hey, what's up? How's it going? What's going on? How's that looking there? Looks good. Hello, Comic Crack here with you for a quick chat. It's going to be very quick. Um, what seems to be happening here? Things are acting funny. What if I do this? Sorry about that, everybody. I'm here. Here I am. Didn't I close these? No, I did. There we go. Okay. I'm sorry. Um, quick video tonight. I wanted to talk a bit about Daredevil. Getting close to finishing the run, and the more that I think about it, and I've been thinking about it for quite a while, um, the more I think about what it is that I want out of my collection. And of course, it would be nice to have every single original issue. The way that I'm thinking about my collecting these days is a lot different than what it used to be, especially even like a year ago. Um, it's kind of always evolving. I just dropped off everything that didn't sell at the last comic convention, except for hardcovers, graphic novels, the underground comics that I had, and some of the magazines that I had for sale. I dropped everything else off at Galaxy. So I think it came to there was four, there was five short boxes and one long box, I believe, is what the end total was. I have a photo and a list of stuff. Um, but that's what I dropped off to just kind of get rid of it. I don't want to go through the process of doing another convention. I think I don't know. I hesitate to say ever. There's always possibility of going back, especially with all these books here. There's a great possibility that I will make an appearance again at some point. But at this point, I need to stop with the selling. And the main reason is that every time I bring this stuff back, I'm bringing back the same amount, plus the things that I end up buying that go back into my collection. Uh, the piles that I have for sale, I just wanted them gone, so they're gone. And it's great, and it feels great to have them gone, come down the stairs and not see the same pile of boxes that are standing by waiting for the next opportunity to go and sell them. It's a great feeling that they're just gone. Um, and that's kind of how I'm focusing on stuff. I love everything that I own, and I love reading, and I love going through them, and I love sitting with them. But the stuff that I don't want, that process is a little tiring at this point. With the graphic novels and the hardcovers and the undergrounds, there's still stuff that I do online. I have a few things up on eBay that are getting pretty much zero hits. So we'll see what happens, but I'm going to try my hand again. I'm a member of a couple of different Facebook groups that deal with comics, and I've sold on the Winnipeg Comic Addicts site. So I'm probably going to try the undergrounds and the graphic novels and stuff. There's one that's specific to just Canada wide. I may try on there to see if I can get any bites on there. Obviously, it's a lot easier to sell to people here in town and sell face to face. You don't have to worry about things like shipping. You can charge a really good price and not have to worry about someone who's buying it is looking at that price, but also thinking about what they're going to pay for shipping. So it becomes less of a deal for them once they calculate that shipping, which means that you have to adjust your prices. But I'm kind of at the point where I'm okay if I take even more of a hit than I already am on some of this stuff. And again, it's a mixed bag, right? Even with the comics that I was selling in the past, there was some that I bought as fairly cheap, or bought as like a collection or a lot. So I made my money back on it already. So I'm not as worried about that kind of thing. I'm okay if I just break even. I'm not in this creating a business. So it got me thinking about Daredevil and what I wanted to put in towards that. And for the time being, I'm going to count these as to the collection. I went to Galaxy when I dropped off the boxes. I went upstairs and kind of had a look, and they have a lot of back issues that are kind of behind the counter, older stuff, that you can request, and they'll pull a box down and you can flip through. So with my recent discovery of all things reprint, I showed these off in the last video, the Marvel Superheroes reprints from 1970, and I think that's the way I'm going to go. And when I was doing a little bit of research on Marvel Superheroes, the series itself, there was a section of time where it started out, I think it was Captain Marvel had its first appearance in that series, and there's probably one or two others that I'm not remembering because I honestly don't give a shit about that kind of stuff as much for the majority of characters. Um, but in the 20s issues, like the number 20s, is when the Daredevil reprints started. Specifically, Marvel Heroes King Size Special #1 is a reprint of Daredevil #1, and it's the full story. And again, the idea for me is that this reprint was 1966. I think when I was looking it up, to kind of the month, it was 2.5 years since the original Daredevil #1 came out, that this was reprinted after that. So 2.5 years later, you get the reprint of Daredevil #1. Plus you get Avengers #2. Plus you get the Torch and Namor from the 40s. Is that what it said? Uh, so this is the way I'm going. So I own Daredevil #1. And I just kind of sat and flipped through them last night because I picked these up yesterday. Flipped through them last night, and they're fantastic. It's the end goal, and I was talking to Rasa about this, and I've talked to people about this before with Defenders. The end goal with this stuff is I want to read. My goal has always been I want to read Daredevil from #1 all the way to 300. I've read all the Frank Miller stuff already, but I'd like to kind of, the idea of watching the character transition from its creation to even when Wally Wood was kind of tweaking the costume, and then finally the costume changed to to red instead of yellow, and it kind of went forward from there. Just all of those touches, I really want to experience as a reader from the beginning, even though I know that some of it is going to be a bit of a slog to read through. I have read a number of the earlier issues that I picked up over the past couple of years, and some of them are a bit of a slog to read through. But the thing is, then you find those issues. There was one specific, I can't remember the number of it, but there was a lot in that book with him filled with self-doubt and kind of going forward and pushing through some of this stuff. So you get those notes of a character that you then can see a really quality writer exploit to some degree, and maybe exploit isn't the right word, but utilize those parts of the character in such a unique way that I really want to see how that is developed over time. Plus, I love the character. I like that premise. That kind of stuff really resonates with me personally, as do a lot of, everybody has their favorite kind of superheroes, and I'm sure they have kind of a personal resonance with them. They resonate in a very specific way with the individual, depending on your life, et cetera, et cetera. But it's exciting to me to kind of have, so again, #1, it's exciting for me to kind of have them and be able to sit with them and kind of read through it. And again, for some of these they had multiple copies, but they were all in really, really great shape. I don't know what it is about this series. Collector's Item Classics, when I've seen that one out and about, That's a square bound as well. And I see them in a variety of conditions, some that are really just beat to shit. Uh, Granted, I've only started looking for these a little more recently. I have seen them when I've been out looking for at the conventions, when I've been looking for these reprint books and just kind of looking through the reprint books. They always seem to be in amazing condition. Uh, I don't know what it is that people have really took care of these, or I don't know, but I mean, all of these, the spines are beautiful, the covers are beautiful. Like this one has a little tear in the top, which does not concern me whatsoever. Again, it's about this. It's about seeing Daredevil and seeing where he started and seeing how it was when he was created, and following that story throughout is going to be so much fun. So I have number one. So that one reprints number one. This is Marvel Superheroes number 22. So you start off with Marvel Superheroes King Size Special number one, which is where you get number one reprint. Marvel Superheroes number 22, you get the issue number two reprint. The square bound books I see are almost always garbage condition. Yeah, and I do see a lot of that too, but I'm noticing more and more the square bounds that I seem to be running across are incredible. And again, this one is another one. You know, it's really in nice shape. So number two reprinted in here. Number three reprinted in Marvel Superheroes number 23. And I believe this is still 1969. When we're looking at these ones, I believe it's 1969. If not, it's like January 1970 when this came out. And then Marvel Superheroes number 4 has Daredevil issue number 4 reprinted in it. Very nice again. Issue 25, as I spoke about already, has issue number 5 reprinted. And then I'll just quickly show you number 26 has number 6 reprinted in it. And then Marvel Superheroes number 27 has number 7 reprinted in it. The earliest issue I have is number 9. They did have Marvel Superheroes number 28 there. I just wasn't exactly sure if that was one that I needed because my notes were lacking. I thought that this was the last one that I needed to complete what I would need to kind of complete up to number 9. So basically I have numbers 1 to 8 reprinted, and then my collection of the originals starts at number 9. I think it goes 9 and then 13. So it's great. Late night crack. It's true. Damien, 64-page special. Thanks very much for tuning in, for joining. I've been off of, it's what, today is Wednesday, so it's been 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 days. I've been off of bread, rice, and potatoes. I've been off of carbs, and my sugar intake is very, very low. And the one thing I noticed is tonight I had 2 drinks, and it hit me because I don't have that kind of bread, I guess, to absorb all that alcohol. It's very strange, the feeling not having those foods in my diet. It's a very strange feeling, and my body is doing all sorts of crazy things. But yeah, that's a little bit of an aside. I don't know why I brought that up, but there you go. Let's have a look at this one. So what did I say? Issue 27 reprints number 7. So I think I haven't looked in any detail as far as, oh man, yeah, look at this. And the beauty of this is then I get to read some of these other stories too. Like, look at that panel. That's a great panel. The beauty is that I get to read some of these other characters and stories like Hulk and Avengers and Fantastic Four and Namor, um, characters that I don't really know much about. I don't have a collection of Hulk or anything. I do have some Fantastic Four that I do enjoy, but yeah, I think this is the way that it's going to go. Um, yeah, I mean, I didn't think I could handle it. The interesting thing about it, Damien, is that I started it a week ago Saturday because my weight is gaining. I'm gaining much weight because of this new job. I'm spending more time sitting at a desk. As people get used to me in my new position, the amount of office work that I'm getting is kind of outweighing any set visits that I used to do. And when I stopped for the day, or when I decided I was going to try a month, ran into a friend of mine at film. He dropped a lot of weight, and I asked him what he was doing, and he said, honestly, I haven't been doing anything but cutting out my carbs, and I just cut them out for X amount of time. I can't remember exactly how long he said. And I figured I'd give it a try for a month. I'd kind of set myself a goal. He's on this ketogenic diet. I don't believe in any sort of diet. I don't believe in following one specific thing. You have to pick and choose for yourself. I've never been a diet type of person. My whole thought was I want to try no carbs for a month. Joan and Jello, how the heck are you? I just want to try it for a month and see how it feels. Um, After that first day when I was on my way home, I notice just how my mind is trained, and I'm guessing this happens to a lot of people. Um, on my way home, I was hungry, and when I had the idea of being full, as I was driving, it's like there's Burrito Del Rio. That's a really great place for a burrito. It's food wrapped in bread. I could stop for a quick burger. That's a bun. I could stop for tacos. That's more bread. Um, and I just realized that my thinking about things that things to make me feel satisfied, and when I eat, it's really based around bread, which is ridiculous. Yeah, Burrito Del Rio. It's kind of like it's like a Subway of the Mexican world. I'm guessing it's something that you don't know about by your response there, Joan and Jello. Um, so it's just a different way of thinking about things for myself. I'm just realizing that I'm realizing where my headspace is at with certain things. And for the first week, he's still laughing and saying nope. Yeah. Um, to be fair, it's a pretty great place. The food is really fresh. It's just that what I buy a Subway type of thing is you make it as you go. So you kind of pick the toppings that you want, and avocado, and if you want pulled pork, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, um, just how my thinking is on that sort of thing, and the first couple of days of turning my focus to eating more proteins, and basically all it is more planning, because when I started watching some videos based on people that were on this ketogenic diet, and again, that's not what I'm following, because they do carbs. I'm trying to just cut it out, and that's just my own thing. That's not based on anything else other than I'm trying to cut it out for a month and see where I go from there. The amount of foods that they were eating, the recipes, there's a lot of recipes, because obviously that's what I did for one night, just kind of looked for a bunch of recipes and made notes of stuff that I wanted. I mean, one night we had this amazing sausage and scallop, like gumbo, that was unbelievable. It was absolutely delicious. Tonight I had tacos, but I just had a taco salad. Uh, we have Chinese hot pot fixings. We have really, really great Chinese grocery stores or Asian grocery stores here in town, that when my brother and his wife from China have come, when they come to visit, I make a point of going with them to these stores. She has grown up in China. She's lived there her whole life. She's walking through the stores and she's pulling off stuff off the shelf, and she's telling me that this is what we have at home all the time. This is exactly the thing. So she's teaching me some stuff of the way that they're eating there naturally in China, especially with things like hot pot, which is basically just two sides of a soup, a spicy and a mild, and then you put in whatever you want. So you can do seafood, you can do lamb, vegetables, tofu, lotus root, whatever it is that you want. Um, so those kind of things those have become the once a week. So instead of once a week, we'll make a pizza. Let's do once a week where we do hot pot. It's a really low. Uh, it's not difficult to set up. Once you have all the bits, it's really really easy. It's boiling water, putting the fixings into the pot itself, and then pouring boiling water on it. We have it on an element basically, um, that then you can control the temperature, and you just cook the meat in it, and you cook all the food in it as you're sitting there. You make a little bit of a dipping sauce yourself with like garlic and ginger and that sort of thing, and you just go for it, and it's delicious and it's really satisfying. And the variety that she picked out for us as far as the spicy stuff, it's legit from what my memory is of China. So I mean, that's where the focus kind of is just planning. I didn't intend to start talking about this. I really didn't. I meant to talk about Daredevil. It does say Daredevil in the title, but I just find it fascinating the way my mind is working as far as food and my thoughts on food and my thoughts of feeling full. Um, yeah, really, really interesting. And it just does feel better. Even after 3 days, there was gurgling happening, and there was things moving, and it's just your body is turning. It's figuring out what else it can burn other than the sugars from all these carbohydrates. What else can it burn for the energy, which is all these fats? In the morning, I'm still allowed to have like eggs and bacon and that sort of thing, allowed in quotes, because I can eat whatever the hell I want, but my choice is keeping my choices down. So it's good, and I've noticed a difference already. Even just I had a lot of acid reflux. I haven't taken a pill for my acid reflux in almost 2 weeks now, uh, and I base that purely on my carb intake. Yeah, eggs are the same with me. It's the exact same with me. It's just not doing the piece of toast and putting the cheese on the toast and the egg and having the sausage. You know what I mean? That was always the thing. Now it's just no toast, and it's still a delicious fucking breakfast. Just doesn't have the bread, as long as I can not focus. Um, and I honestly, Damien had said before, Sleepy Reader 666 said before, I couldn't handle low carb diet when I tried, and it definitely is difficult. There's no doubt about it. And yesterday I had some serious, probably the most intense cravings that I've had so far yesterday, for bread, for pizza, for potato chips, for chocolate, for all this stuff. Like, it was intense for a couple of hours, intense cravings, but it's just trying to ride it out. Anyway, this is him right there. It's Daredevil. So I think that that's where the collecting for Daredevil will go. I mean, obviously, still in the because I still need a number of issues. So what did I say? 17? I think it was 17 issues, minus now these that I have 7. So another 10 issues. There is still some that are kind of key issues that I know are going to cost a bit more money, but with those ones, I don't mind the one stop intake. What I'm finding here in Winnipeg anyway, when I come across the Daredevil issues, and I know I've talked about this before briefly because I know other people don't have this experience. The prices for the comics, for Daredevil comics here in Winnipeg, are still very, very reasonable. I can't say that for numbers 1 to 5, for example. For a number 1, I've seen it for $750. For number 2, I saw $350, which maybe in the grand scheme of things isn't that much compared to other places. But again, it's that idea of, what am I willing to spend to complete my collection? This completely satisfies me. Having no bread satisfies me. is still satisfactory. I still feel satiated. Having the reprints. See what I did there, huh? Having these reprint issues still satisfies the need, which is I want to read the first 300. This still allows me to do that. I don't know how many of those other issues I may be missing. Like I said, I think I'm missing 10, 11, and 12. So I don't know if those three are reprinted anywhere. I haven't looked too deep into it, but that'll be the next step. If I can find where these have been reprinted, especially when you're dealing with reprints that were out in 1966, when the original #1 was out in 1964. I'm completely happy with that. It's incredible. And I guess part of me is just also surprised. They smell so good too. Like, that's the thing. Part of me is just also surprised that these reprints, considering they're on the same paper, considering they're the same kind of age, um, they don't go for more money, because these weren't expensive by any shot. You know, it's Daredevil #1, and I paid a fraction of the price that I would pay to get the original #1, and it's reprinted 2.5 years later. And that's the thing that I guess I partially don't understand. Um, and who knows, maybe that's a tide that's changing. Who knows? I don't know. I don't see a lot of videos where people are buying these reprints. I just watched Solid 4SD Ben talking about as a recent haul that he got at a convention, and he had a couple of reprints. But I don't see a lot of people talking about the reprints. Um, and again, maybe that's just my limited viewing, but I don't remember seeing a lot of that kind of content out there where people are talking about these and collector's item classics. And I think was it Fanfare, Marvel Fanfare, that sort of thing. I hope they stay cheap as well too. I mean, it would be sad to see them kind of jump in value, considering. But again, I'm still a little surprised. So there you go. I have 1 to 7 Daredevil. I'm striking those off the list. I'm calling that part of the Daredevil collection, which means I need 10 more issues, and I've got the first 300. And if I can find any more in reprints, I will be doing that. That was all I really had planned to talk about. There was nothing else. The the status of the stuff that I took into Galaxy Comics, the rest of the collection that I had for sale. I know that it's down to the bare bones, and I was talking to the guy there, Justin, texting, and he was saying that there's not really anything there that they really, really need. And I realize that about the collection at this point. I mean, I'm getting nobody really buying stuff and picking stuff up. So he said, honestly, for something like this, we wouldn't really buy it, but I'd be willing to give you some trade value for it. So now it's just me trying to figure out what I think would be acceptable for trade, because he's kind of left it in my hands. He's like, honestly, Terrence, I don't really know even a price to tell you about this, because it's really not stuff that we need. So it's really him doing me a bit of a favor, because I think if this was anybody else, he would probably say, thanks, but no thanks. We don't want any of this. But because I've kind of done business with them, and I've traded with them before, and that was my shop for the longest time, I think he's maybe a little more willing to try to cut me a deal. So I don't really know what's reasonable for what I have. 25 cents a comic, 10 cents a comic, I don't really know. So that'll be something for me to figure out, and maybe go to him. The other thing is, I don't necessarily want to trade for, I was hoping to get a bit of cash that I could put towards one of their more expensive back issues. You know, if I was looking for Doctor Strange 169, for example, I could put that towards buying that comic, because that's still within my range where it's a little reasonable. Um, I mean, there's things like the Batman Adventures, Batman Beyond, Batman Gotham Adventures, that I think he'd be willing to trade for, because they have quite a lot of that stuff. Plus, in the warehouse, they do as well. So it may be stuff like that, or maybe I can kind of fill some gaps in the Image comic series that I was collecting. Maybe I can do that. As far as what comes next when Daredevil is complete, it seems to be that I'm on this unexpected kick. Um, so that I think is one, but honestly, that would probably be the only one. Yeah, the Doctor Strange completion, but I mean, again, I'm pretty damn close to that. The ones that I would love to finish this year, there's two more issues of Defenders that I need a top because my son and I are reading them together, and we're stuck on. We just finished number 3, and that's as far as we can go. There's only one Doctor Strange. I'm not talking Strange Tales. I'm talking just Doctor Strange solo title. I just need number 169, and then I've got that series plus the one that happened afterwards. Those are the only two series that I want to buy from Doctor Strange. Eventually, sure, it would be great to get into some Strange Tales, but again, I don't really want to get into that whole of then I have to buy his first appearance, or look for it. I mean, I've got that stuff reprinted. I'm satisfied with that black and white book. But I think Unexpected is going to be the one because they seem to really pop up for me a lot at, again, really good prices. And they're fantastic covers. They're great little stories. I really feel like my collection is very, very, very focused now. And there's a very specific kind of tone with all the books. And it's really down to stuff that I really, really like. There's a couple kind of stragglers, even looking at the boxes, there's a couple of stragglers that may kind of go by the wayside, but who knows? I mean, my plop run is done. Underground comics, that's always something that's on there, but those are really few and far between these days. The lots that are popping up on eBay, people are asking prices that are outrageous, to be quite frank. Um, there's a lot of great collected lots, and all of them have a bunch of books that I don't have, but the prices are out of control. Plus, again, I'm buying that amount of books. That's a lot of money shipping that stuff to me. Uh, I think there's still, I have them on a watch list, and I've noticed that a couple have started dropping in price. So I'm keeping my eyes on that sort of thing to see how far they drop. But I don't know if what's happened with that. Maybe the underground price guide is kind of hit a point where more people are picking it up, so they thought, no, no, it's not. That plop run is still going strong. Um, I don't know if that's kind of filtering through the underground comics collectors, and they're really referencing that book a lot and thinking that, again, it's one of those things. Just because the book says that it's worth something, that don't mean shit. Nobody is paying those prices for underground comics. I'm sorry, they just aren't. It's You're not gonna get $8 per book for these lots. You know what I mean? You're lucky if you'll get $5 a book if you're doing these lots. I mean, one of the biggest lots that I bought, I can't remember what I said in the video, but it was like, I think I paid about $2 a book by the end of it. Yes, there was some varying degrees of condition, but there was a lot of books in there that were in really nice condition and were fairly rare. But I got them for next to nothing because nobody's buying that stuff, right? Um, so yeah, it's kind of balancing all that out, right? Everything is it seems to be about balance these days. Again, too much hash, too much underground comics. I'm turning into a hippie. Speaking of which, 2 weeks, weed becomes legal here in Manitoba. Well, across Canada, but they were talking about it on the radio today, and the supply versus the demand, the numbers are way out of whack. The demand is going to be extraordinary, and the supply is like 1/10 of what they're expecting the demand to be. So that'll be really interesting when that kind of comes into play. It's going to stop a lot of people from crossing the border, because there's been a lot of talk at the border that if you admit to smoking marijuana, they're not going to let you across the border to the United States. And you'd be silly to lie about some of that stuff, because if they find out, you're even in more trouble. So I wonder what effect that's going to have. People crossing into the States. Um, People seem to be worried about it from a work standpoint. As far as I know, there's still a policy at workplaces where no drug or alcohol consumption can happen on a work site. The thing with legalization is that you can get the THC levels down to zero, um, because it's the blank level that does the actual work, especially when you're dealing with medicinal marijuana. And I'm forgetting the blank is what I'm forgetting. So you can really control the THC levels. So that'll be interesting to see how all that plays out. And maybe because of every time I turn on the news and listen to the news, the world seems to be going to shit. Maybe it is a good time, for everybody just to sit back and smoke a joint and calm the fuck down. Uh, I wonder what it's like at the Washington state border where it's legal too. Yeah, I wonder. And that's the thing, because in the States you have a couple of places where it's legal. And they were talking about Colorado, I think, on CBC today, and the amount of revenue they've made in the first couple of years just from legalization was in the millions. Uh, Authentic rolled in underground comics joints. That's right. Yes. Like the Cheech and Chong album where you got the big rolling paper, just get a Freak Brothers rolling paper page directly from a first edition of Freak Brothers #1. Um, the revenue is extraordinary. The numbers that they were talking about on the radio. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I'm very curious. I'm not a huge dope smoker by any stretch, not even close. But I am curious because I think it's about time. It's ridiculous not to make it legal. In my mind, I know that there's varying degrees, there's varying opinions out there, and I respect those. I think it's about time, and it's silly to have it uh, demonized as much as it has been. It's really not that big of a deal. When you get control over something, you can control so many things about it. They were talking about the impact that it's going to have on the black market. And of course, it's not going to have much at first, especially with the supply demand. But from various places around the world and across the country into the United States and stuff, they've noticed over a couple of years those numbers start to even out, so that the black market weed becomes less desirable because, well, why bother? Because I can just go down to the corner store and my local dealer there is going to have stuff. Not only that, different strains, different varieties, different everything, different THC levels, different whatever it is you want, it's going to be available. They're going to run it kind of like the liquor store here. There was a bunch of people that were given special permission to open a store that they can sell the marijuana out of. Yeah, so oh really? We have a company here that delivers cookies only late at night now. Pot's been legal for a year here in Portland. Interesting. For 1 year. That's very interesting. Um, yeah, so that's I don't know. I just remember being in junior high and doing a presentation on NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, that I read about in High Times magazine that I was getting, um, probably at Comic World. I think actually I probably picked some up at a comic shop. There was this place, Comic World, that we used to go to when we were kids, and they had a lot of really great stuff. And I probably picked some issues up from there. But they were promoting that back in, that would have been what, early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. Rasa, hello, how's it going? It's morning, you're up. So it's about time, and I'm very curious to see what the outcome will be. Of course, everybody's scared of the children. What about the children? Oh my God, the children. We got to think of the children. All the kids, they're all high. Yes, I'm going to go to sleep right away. It only meant to be Daredevil, but then it's kind of erupted into a bunch of other conversation. The kids are all high already. Um, they're high and they're having sex. I hate to break it to you. Yes, I know. I look a bit tired. I agree. Yeah, so that's it. Thanks very much for tuning in. Let's just cut it there because otherwise I'm just going to babble for the rest of the night. Um, there you go. I was just talking, Rasa. You can go back, obviously, and see it. But I was just talking about all of the Daredevil reprints because I managed to get the first. It's basically the first 7 issues that are in these reprints. Uh, so I figure that's the way it's going to go. But I won't spoil anything. You can rewind to the beginning once it's done, and you can watch from the beginning. Before I sign off and totally off topic, Terrence, did you see the Panos Cosmatos film Mandy, and what do you think? I haven't seen it. I just heard about it. One of the groups that I'm on Board Game Geek, they talk about horror movies, and they were talking about, I believe that's a horror movie, right? They were talking about movies they were looking forward to, and I believe that was one of the titles. Better send us all some for testing just to be safe. Absolutely. I'll make sure that find some distribution system to send you legal weed down to where it's illegal. Yeah, absolutely. Um, thanks very much, everybody. I look stoned. Thanks. I'm not stoned. Revenge horror. Ah, okay. Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'll check it out. I'll look for a trailer. Okay, that's it. I'm going to bed. Good night. Thanks very much for tuning in. I love you all. You're all the best. Take care of yourselves and kiss those babies, hug those children, and smoke a joint.